The person who controls you is more trapped than you are. Every time you resist their control, you're strengthening their prison while building your own. And the moment you stop resisting, you become the one holding the key to both cells. Dostoevsky learned this watching guards pace outside his cell in Siberia. And what he discovered will rewrite every power dynamic you're currently losing. You've been told your entire life to never let anyone push you around. Stand your ground, demand respect, fight back when someone tries to control you. Your parents said it, your teachers said it. Every self-help book you've ever touched repeats the same advice. Resistance equals strength. Never submit, never bend. The moment you let someone have power over you, you lose yourself forever. This is the story you tell yourself every single day. This is the frame that's keeping you weak. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You felt it in your throat. That tightness when someone tells you what to do and everything in you wants to push back. You've stood your ground in an argument and watched the entire relationship fall apart in front of you. You won, but you lost everything else. You've burned yourself out fighting battles that didn't matter, defending hills that meant nothing, just because you couldn't let someone else feel like they had control. Your chest gets tight just thinking about it. That sick feeling after you won the argument but destroyed the connection. The exhaustion that follows every time you refuse to bend. You're right, and you're alone, and you're so tired you can barely think straight. What if I told you that every single time you resisted control, you handed them exactly what they wanted? What if the person trying to control you needs your resistance to feel powerful? What if you've been feeding the very dynamic you hate? Think about it. When you push back, when you fight, when you refuse to let them have their way, who's thinking about them more? You or them? Who's spending energy? Who's losing sleep? Who's locked in mental combat with someone who's probably already moved on? You are. You're the one trapped. You're the one who can't let it go. Every power struggle you win costs you something real. Sleep, mental space, relationships that could have helped you, opportunities you didn't see because you were too busy being right. And everyone around you notices. They see you as rigid, defensive, threatened. The person who always needs to stand on principle while everyone else moves forward and gets what they want. The world doesn't reward the person who needs to be right. It rewards the person who knows when to bend. Dostoevsky spent years in a Siberian prison camp. He watched power dynamics stripped down to nothing but their raw truth. No social games, no polite pretending. Just humans trying to control other humans. And what he saw changed everything. The guards were more imprisoned than the prisoners. The ones who needed to enforce control, who had to make others submit, who couldn't relax for even a moment. They were psychologically chained to the people they controlled. The prisoners could still think freely. The guards had to keep watching, keep enforcing, keep needing the prisoners to stay controlled. In his book, Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky revealed the truth that polite society refuses to touch. Conscious submission is the only real freedom. He understood what your therapist will never tell you. The person who must dominate you is already your slave. But why does your entire nervous system scream to resist? Why does submission feel like death? Because you've been programmed, and it's time to see who programmed you. Your resistance reflex isn't natural, it's installed software. Someone put it there, and it's been running your life without your permission ever since. Think back to childhood. Your parents told you not to let anyone push you around. Stand up for yourself. Don't be weak. What they were really doing was wiring your brain to attach your sense of self to being right. They made you afraid of looking weak. Teachers did the same thing. They rewarded you for following rules, but they praised you for having a backbone. You learned that submission meant the death of who you are. The kid who wouldn't share their toys on the playground became the adult who can't yield in a business meeting. That playground logic became your operating system. Push back or be dominated forever. This is what you carry in your body right now. Your brain can't tell the difference between social submission and actual death. When someone tries to control you, your amygdala fires like you're being attacked by a predator. It reads the situation as life or death. Let them have control, and you might as well bare your throat and wait to be killed. This made sense when your ancestors lived in small tribes. Back then, status hierarchies were everything. Resist or become the permanent bottom. Get pushed around once and you're done. But you're not living on the plains anymore. You're not fighting for scraps of meat. Modern power is psychological, not physical. Your Stone Age threat detection system is running in a world it wasn't built for. The same wiring that kept your ancestors alive now keeps you in constant, pointless combat with people who don't actually threaten your survival. And here's what nobody tells you. You fighting benefits someone, but it's not you. A population trained to resist each other stays broken into pieces, distracted, easy to control. You fighting your boss, your partner, your neighbor, you're not fighting the systems that shape all of you. You're fighting each other while the real game plays out above your head. Consumer culture needs you reactive. Buy this to show you're strong. Wear this to prove you won't be pushed around. The self-help industry makes billions selling you courses on setting boundaries and books about not being a doormat. Meanwhile, people with actual power move like water. They bend. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. Here's what all this resistance has cost you. Every visible power struggle leaks status. When people see you fighting small battles, they don't see strength. They see someone insecure, someone who needs to win fights that don't matter. You're draining energy on conflicts that build nothing. They don't compound. They don't move you forward. They just burn you out. And relationships? The person who can never yield becomes impossible to work with, impossible to love, impossible to partner with in any real way. You end up right, alone, and exhausted. Nothing changes. Track it backwards through your own life. How many opportunities died because you couldn't let someone feel in control? How many alliances never formed because you needed to be seen as unbending? Robert Greene wrote about this in the 48 Laws of Power. Play the submissive to gain power. Psychological research confirms it. When people feel controlled, they resist automatically, even when it hurts them. Dostoevsky saw it in The House of the Dead. The prisoners who fought the guards suffered more. The ones who bent survived and kept their inner freedom. History shows it over and over. Courtiers who appeared submissive to kings often had more real influence than the powerful advisors everyone could see. You've been running corrupted software your whole life, and everyone around you with real power already knows it. So if resistance is the trap, what's the mechanism that makes submission into power? Let's break down exactly how this works. When someone tries to control you, they're actually seeking two different things. They want the visible compliance, the behavior, the outward submission. But they also want your psychological surrender. They want inside your head. They want you broken. If you resist them, you give them that second thing. You prove they matter. You prove they've gotten under your skin. You prove they have power over your internal state. But if you comply while staying internally free, you only give them the first thing, and it's never enough. It leaves them hungry. The controller becomes psychologically dependent on keeping that control. They need you to keep playing the role, and you retain something they can never take: the ability to stop complying whenever you choose. Dostoevsky's Underground Man said it perfectly. "I am free because I can refuse even my own happiness." You're not surrendering anything real. You're creating a dependency. Here's the dynamic you're exploiting. Human beings are wired to trust people who comply with them. Compliance signals safety. It signals alliance. It makes people predictable. When you let someone feel in control, their guard drops. They stop watching you so carefully. They start depending on you to behave in certain ways. They build their world around the assumption that you'll keep complying. The moment they depend on your behavior, you have leverage. The tyrant needs subjects more than subjects need the tyrant. Remove the subjects, and the tyrant is just someone shouting alone in an empty room. You haven't surrendered. You've created a trap. Let me show you exactly what this looks like. Imagine you have a controlling boss. Most people resist publicly. They argue about decisions. They stand up for themselves in meetings. They create visible friction because they think that's strength. The result? The boss feels threatened. They dig in harder. You become known as difficult. Opportunities dry up. Your career stalls. Now, imagine the other approach. You comply visibly. You execute their decisions flawlessly. You offer no resistance to their control. You give them nothing to push against. What happens? The boss starts to trust you. They depend on you. They relax their monitoring. They give you more freedom because you're not a threat. And now you have something valuable: their trust, their dependency. You can withdraw your compliance strategically when it actually serves you, when the stakes matter. You've created an asset you can spend later. They think they control you, but you're holding all the cards. Or take a manipulative partner. Most people fight for equality every single day. They demand recognition. They resist every controlling move. They keep score. The relationship becomes a war. Both people exhausted, both people miserable. But what if you let them believe they're in control? You comply with the things that don't matter, the small things, the ego things. What happens? They invest more deeply in the relationship. They become more dependent on the dynamic they think they've created. They lower their defenses completely, and you see their patterns with total clarity, because you're not emotionally reactive anymore. You're not fighting, you're watching, and you can leave cleanly whenever you want. They've built their entire emotional world on sand you control. Or think about a social aggressor, someone trying to dominate you publicly. Most people match their energy, defend their reputation, fight back, engage in the status battle. The result? You've accepted their frame. You're playing their game. Everyone watching sees two people fighting. Nobody wins. But what if you agree with them instead? What if you amplify their criticism? What if you refuse to defend yourself at all? They have nothing to push against. The aggression collapses into absurdity. Observers see someone so secure they don't even need to fight. The aggressor looks unhinged. You've won by refusing to play. This operates on multiple levels at once. Personally, conscious submission protects your inner world. Your ego is not yourself. You can let ego threats pass through without taking damage. The person who needs external proof of their strength is weaker than the person who doesn't need to prove anything. Interpersonally, every relationship has a power balance. Most people fight to shift it, but the person who appears to accept it actually controls it. Dostoevsky showed this in Crime and Punishment. Sonia submitted to her terrible circumstances, but her submission gave her moral authority that crushed Raskolnikov's will to power. Socially, authority only exists when people comply. The person who complies strategically holds the real power because they can withdraw it. Mass non-compliance collapses governments. Your individual non-compliance collapses personal tyrants. And existentially, this is Dostoevsky's deepest insight. Freedom is internal, not external. You can be in a physical prison and be psychologically free. You can be physically free and be imprisoned by your need to resist everything. The person who learns conscious submission while staying internally sovereign cannot be controlled by anyone. This isn't philosophy, this is survival technology. Here's why this actually works. Controllers are psychologically fragile. They need your resistance to feel powerful. Give them compliance instead, and they don't know what to do. They become addicted to your yes. That addiction is your leverage. You're not being weak, you're setting a trap. The moment they depend on you playing the submissive role, you can exit the entire game. They stay stuck. You move freely, you have options. They have dependency. But this knowledge is a scalpel, not a hammer. Use it wrong and it destroys you. Here's what most people miss. Strategic submission only works when it comes from internal sovereignty, not actual powerlessness. The difference between these two determines whether you're playing chess or just being used. If you submit because you're actually afraid, you're just submitting. There's no power there. If you submit to avoid all conflict forever, you've just found a new cage. If you use this manipulatively without inner freedom, you become the thing you claim to be playing. The person who lets others control them but seethes with resentment internally, that's not power, that's poison. Dostoevsky warned about this. The underground man tried to play these games from weakness. He tried to manipulate from a place of fear and bitterness. He became destroyed, isolated, psychologically broken. Strategic submission requires you to genuinely not need the control they think they have. You must become something specific for this to work. You need internal sovereignty. You must actually not care about the thing they think they control. Your ego has to die. Your sense of self cannot be attached to being right, winning, or being seen as strong. You need outcome independence. You comply because the outcome of this specific battle doesn't matter to your larger goals. You're thinking across years, not days. Their victory today is your setup for tomorrow. This isn't a tactic you deploy on Tuesday. This is a state of being you inhabit permanently. You cannot fake internal freedom. They'll sense it in your body language, in your eyes, in the way you carry yourself. And the whole mechanism collapses. Here's your immediate challenge. Identify one person who's currently trying to control you. One person where you've been resisting, fighting back, defending yourself. Pick someone specific. For the next week, comply with everything non-essential they ask. Give them no resistance, no explanation, no visible resentment. Just comply. Watch what happens to them, not to you. To them. Do they relax? Do they push harder trying to get a reaction from you? Do they start depending on your compliance? Do they begin to trust you more? Journal it. Track the power shift in real time. Write down what you notice each day. You're not losing anything. You're conducting an experiment on your own psychological freedom. You're testing whether you actually have internal sovereignty, or whether you've just been telling yourself a story. You started this video thinking submission equals weakness. That's what everyone thinks. That's what you've been taught since childhood. Now you see something different. The person who must control you is imprisoned by that need. They can't relax. They can't stop monitoring. They're psychologically chained to you. You, having given them control, are free to revoke it at any moment. Which means you never lost control at all. The resistor is predictable. Everyone knows exactly what you'll do. You'll fight back. You'll defend. You'll resist. But the conscious submitter is unpredictable. Nobody knows when you'll comply and when you'll withdraw. Unpredictability is power. You've crossed a threshold you can't uncross. You now see every power struggle as theater, performance, a game being played by people who don't know it's a game. And you know how to walk off the stage whenever you choose. Most people will never understand this. They'll fight their entire lives, burning energy on battles that don't matter, feeling righteous while losing ground, dying on hills that mean nothing. They'll be right, alone, and exhausted until the day they die. You're not most people anymore. You see the machinery now, how control works, how power flows, how submission becomes sovereignty. Dostoevsky saw it in the labor camps. The guards needed the prisoners more than the prisoners needed the guards. The ones with the keys were more trapped than the ones in the cells. You've inherited that vision. You carry it in your chest now. Those who see this don't need to be told what to do next. You already know.